So you can listen to the radio, you can listen to streaming, you can listen to the podcast after 4 o'clock. You can just run it endlessly throughout your home. Time now to talk with John Manley. He's been with us many times. He and his law firm have fought for many thousands of sex abuse victims, taking on a lot of the big institutions, whether it was USC and USA Gymnastics for their strange, the USC was a gynecologist. USA Gymnastics had that strange doctor, Larry Nassar. Also, most famously, the Catholic Church, Los Angeles Unified School District. His firm is Manley, Stewart, and Finaldi. And let's talk here about L.A. County, the probation officers who Manley says oversaw essentially Epstein Island. And it was thousands, 7,000 juveniles in the detention facilities and the foster homes who were sexually abused. There's a $4 billion settlement in that case, but Manley wants to know, well, who did this? How did it happen? Who's responsible? John, how are you?
Hey, John. Great. Thanks. Nice to be here.
So you said we have a case where there's 7,000 victims. Do we have any perpetrators that we know of that by name or their supervisors?
Oh, yeah. Sure. We have a bunch. Thomas Jackson, for one, who abused many of our clients at Camp Joseph Scott up in North L.A. County. I think there's 30 claimants against him. His deposition was taken in the case. He asserted the Fifth Amendment. The DA declined to prosecute him because of the statute of limitations. And I'm not critical of the DA here for that. They're stuck with the statute of limitations. But what's different about this case, so, Epstein allegedly abused, well, not allegedly, he did abuse hundreds of, or dozens and dozens of girls. Here, we have thousands. How many investigations have occurred on Epstein? We've got Gloria Allred calling for, her transcript to be released. Every Democratic official and many Republican officials, I guess, are rightfully calling for that investigation. Well, you have thousands of kids here who are black and Latino over 30 years that were under the control of the probation department, run by L.A. County, run by the Board of Supervisors, run by the most progressive politicians in the country, and not a word about an investigation. Nothing. USC investigated, we investigated, the DA investigated, he was charged. Here, no one's investigated. It was, and so what we've done is write the new U.S. attorney here, Bill Asaley, who has a very good record on victims' rights, and ask him and ask the Justice Department to open a civil and criminal investigation of L.A. County. We're going to the $4 billion settlement, which, by the way, we're not part of, is we're set to go to trial in September, but it's the largest sex abuse settlement in American history. It dwarfs Nassar, which was over $1 billion, dwarfs USC. And we don't have any idea how this happened or who is responsible. And I got to be honest with you, only in Los Angeles would that happen. And the whole thing reeks of corruption. You got a public employee union in the form of the probation officers union. How did this happen? No one can answer it, and no one wants to answer it. The legislature hasn't held a hearing on it. The governor hasn't said a word about it. The Board of Supervisors hadn't had a public hearing on it. They just paid the money. Well, is that what we're doing now? We're paying $4 billion for criminal acts, and we don't know it? Every Catholic
They
guy
don't care, do they? I mean, they just don't care.
They don't give a damn. And what the truth is these politicians are using, children. And these kids didn't go to these boot camps because they committed felonies. They got in minor trouble, and they were supposed to be brought on the right track, and instead they were used as human sex toys by some, certainly not all, but some of these probation officers, and it was known. I mean, the federal government sued them in 2012, and there was a federal monitor supposedly, saying this is going to be back in compliance. This went on for years. And the very people that these politicians claim to care about, that they praise, and, oh my God, ICE is taking our children. And that maybe we need to protest that. And I'm not criticizing that. But the utter hypocrisy of allowing, you talk about what happens to kids in ICE custody. Well, in LA County's custody, they got raped. And how come no one's doing anything?
7,000 times. 7,000 kids got raped multiple times.
Yeah, in the custody of the of the blue. And I'm not being partisan here. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy of all this. Oh my God, with children, the children. You had custody of children, and you let them get raped, and you're not calling for an investigation.
What is it about probation officers?
I don't know. I mean, there certainly was a culture there where this was not dealt with. I mean, there was example after example, complaint after complaint. Some were actually prosecuted, and nothing changed. So, the point is we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the documents, and I think it's very interesting that in today's LA Times, when the county was confronted with, the fact that we're calling for this federal investigation, why didn't they say we welcome it? We want to know what happened too. Nope, no, we don't, nothing. So I think that I'm very hopeful that the U.S. Attorney will investigate it, and maybe we'll get some answers. But
one of the things we've talked about over the years in a lot of these cases, whether it's the Catholic Church or the LA Unified School District or any of the other institutional organizations, is just how everybody goes dead silent while it's happening, even though many people within the institution, like at USC, knows what's going on. Nobody says anything. Then after it happens, it becomes news. Maybe once in a while somebody goes to jail. Most of the time it's not. Big settlements, billions of dollars. Nobody ever has anything to say about it. Nobody's angry. Nobody's appalled among those within the institution. What is that?
Well, it's called I care about my job. I care about my institution. I don't care about individual children. Our job as adults is to stand between those who would hurt our kids and make it stop. And the truth is, these people failed. And the reality is they're so busy caring about their next office or their paycheck or the union contract that they've completely lost sight of what their primary job was, which was to help these kids. In many instances, John, they took these kids forcibly from their parents and made their parents pay tuition to go to these places, and then they raped them. And it's destroyed their lives. And this is I think the Archdiocese total had 2,000 cases, maybe 2,500 cases. This is 7,000. You had every politician in the state up screaming up and down about Cardinal Mahoney, and rightfully so. Well, where's the outrage here? I mean, everybody's outraged.
Is it because they're minority kids?
I actually believe that. I mean, Epstein molests and rapes horribly, 150 young white girls, and the world falls apart. But if you sexually assault black children and Latino children, apparently in Los Angeles County, we don't care. If you cared, you'd get answers and you'd hold those responsible. And I'll tell you what I think. I think there's a lot of people that are in a lot of high places in state government and in county government who would have a lot to answer for, and that's why they're not calling for it. And I think that's precisely, and it's a civil rights matter. Somebody in custody when you can't leave and then just rape them. I mean, that just happened up in the federal prison up in Dublin, California, and there was a huge federal investigation. This dwarfs any sexual abuse case. It dwarfs the Catholic diocese case, and yet nothing's happened. So, like I said, I hope and pray that the Justice Department and our U.S. Attorney here will look into this, because it's wrong and it's awful.
John Manley, thank you for coming on again.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
John Manley from Manley, Stoughton, Finaldi. Or is it? Yes, Manley, Stoughton, Finaldi. I got him in the right order. I almost